Hello there, I am Zenger, and if you're seeing this video, you've probably seen a lot of my content before, but never heard my voice. I wanted to change that, and actually be one-on-one with you guys more, so this channel is run by just me, just Zenger, just one guy. I'm not really ready to start showing my face in every video yet, but I got this guy right here to be my little mascot. This is my Old Republic bounty hunter character. He's a custom figure. And he's my channel's profile picture. He's just not wearing the helmet in that. So I'm starting a hopefully monthly Q&A series where I can answer questions from you guys. To start, I made various posts on YouTube, Instagram, and my Discord server. So I'll be answering those questions in this video. And for future Q&A videos, I'll take any questions I see in the comments of this video. So if you have a question and you want to be featured, go ahead and ask in the comments below. And if I didn't get to your question in this video, maybe I'll get to it next week, so just ask again in the comments. Alright, let's just jump right into the questions. Japan and Books asks, when did you become a Star Wars fan? Do you have a favorite character? What's a dream project, movie/show/comic you would love to see made real? First, I became a Star Wars fan when I was a kid. Probably around 2005, I'm not sure, probably before that. My whole life, basically. I know my first movie was Revenge of the Sith. I don't have memories of not being a Star Wars fan. My favorite character is Sabine Wren. Really loved her story in Rebels, especially Trials of the Darksaber. Something about her just kind of resonates with me. Plus I love her costumes and all her color variations. I'm not a huge fan that she's a Jedi now in the Ahsoka show, but it doesn't ruin her for me. I still love Sabine, and her original stories in Rebels still mean a lot to me. My dream project for Star Wars. Animated series set between episode 6 and 7, filling in that gap for both the original trilogy heroes like Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, and Lando, and the early lives of the sequel trilogy heroes like Ben Solo, Poe, Finn, and even Rey, if they can fit that in. Just a series that spans almost the full 30 years. You can bring in whoever is still around from Rebels like Hera or Jason Syndulla, and I can see it working a lot like Clone Wars with different arcs and no real clear singular main character. There's like one arc about Poe joining the Resistance, there's another about Ben's fall, and then another about Palpatine and his secret return on Exegol. Maybe one about Rey on Jakku and how she learned how to pilot. I don't know, I just want a show like that to tell the stories that are kind of alluded to in movies, but mostly just told in novels or comics. Because I love that extra media, but not nearly enough people will ever know about them unless they're adapted to the screen. Count Dooku Lover asks, well, where did you get inspiration for these videos? From the very beginning, my inspiration was just to see how crazy I could get with the AI voices. It's just my humor kind of let loose with no filter, pretty much. It's refined over time, but that's kind of how it started. Inspiration. One of the channels I watched as a kid was called Lego Story Workshop. And he made this series called Lego Motel. And they are these grossly out-of-pocket little Lego skits with characters from all kinds of franchises. They are freaking hilarious. And they definitely have some inspiration with the start of these videos. So if you like my content, then you'll love these, even if they are kind of dated. It's kind of crazy to look back at these and see they have decent views, but I get more than this on average now. Like, they feel super underrated. So go over there, give them a watch, tell them I sent you. Another big inspiration is probably Aurelnauts. Those Jedi party parodies are freaking hilarious. I always think of that scene with little Anakin and Qui-Gon, where he goes, Master, what are midichlorians? It's heroin. Bees that should not exist. I think I'm saying that right. Or beast Hans should not exist. Well, anyway, they ask, out of curiosity, how long does it take you to make a video, whether it be a short or a long-form video? I'll start with the shorts, since that's what I've been making most of lately. There's really 4 steps to it. Writing, audio, recording, and editing. Writing can take anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour, usually, depending on how in the flow I am. Once I have an idea, I'll just try to expand it, and I'll rack my brain, and I'll work on punchlines, and it can take a while sometimes. But once that's done, it's really the hard part. Everything else is just busy work. Audio can take about 30 minutes usually, unless it's all characters that are speech to speech. So if I can do the impression and run it through the filters like with Clone Troopers, it's done in like 10 or 15 minutes. Recording usually takes about half an hour, and then editing the same or less. So really all in all, it's about 1 to 2.5 hours of work per skit. Pretty good. Long-form videos are a much bigger fish. First of all, writing can take weeks for me at this point because I really want them to be perfect, and it's harder to make a conversation flow for 15 minutes than it is to make a conversation flow for 60 seconds. Obviously, the audio takes way longer. I mean, you could just do the math on that. If it takes 30 minutes to do audio for a 1-minute skit, it's going to take 15 times that to do audio for a 15-minute video. And really, it's all exponential. So pretty much I can just take what it usually takes, which is an hour to 2.5 hours. It's really on the 2.5 hour mark because the longer videos take so much more care and attention to detail. Multiply that by 15 per minute. It's about 30 hours of work per long form video. That's why they are so rare these days, because I have to dedicate an entire week of my life to it. The Black Series Diaries asks, I'd love to be able to do similar AI voice generating stuff. How do you do it, and how easy is it to get started as a complete beginner with zero knowledge in it? Thanks for your content. I often straight binge it, and it always has me laughing so hard. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. AI voice cloning is pretty easy. You find some samples of the voice, and it'll clone it for you. I use two systems. I use first 11 Labs, and it's very beginner friendly. You just need to generate your line a few times to get a good sounding one, because it's really not perfect. And that's all text to speech. You can do a little speech to speech with 11 Labs, which I do sometimes. But the real good speech-to-speech thing is RVC. Retrieval-based voice cloning, I think is what it's called. It's a locally hosted thing, and I have to run it myself. And I know from first glance it's going to look really complicated, but it's not. You just train a model, which is very easy to do, and then do a little impression of the character. So for example, this.
Rex touched me. What? Why the hell are you telling our commander something like that? You never.
Becomes this.
Rex touched me. What? Why the hell are you telling our commander something like that? You never.
I usually prefer doing this because it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster, and it's a lot more fun to be able to do the impression myself first. 11 Labs lets you do this too, but it only works on some characters in my experience. Unfortunately, like the main trio, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, they work best with text-to-speech for me. But maybe that's just because I'm so used to their voices now after almost 2 years of using it. So that's why I like to use characters like clones and Yoda so much, because they are much easier to make the voice and audio for. At least for me. For a lot of people aren't going to be able to do these voice impressions themselves. Alex Matt Vive 3720 asks, what AI voice generator do you do for Ahsoka? If it's not a secret. Her voice sounds so natural, so deep, and gentle. I use 11 Labs for Ahsoka, as well as Anakin and Obi-Wan. I have from the start. Ahsoka took a bit of work, and if you remember, those first 2 AI videos have her speaking really high-pitched and young. And I eventually went in and lowered that pitch significantly, and it really fixed the voice. But the reason my skits and voices usually sound so real and natural is because I generate them dozens of times. I'm really picky with the results. And I think a lot of people aren't picky and just run with the first generation. So when you see a normal AI voice cloning video on your feed, it's not going to sound great. But I try to be really, really, really picky. I'll try 10 to 20 times per line to get something that sounds real, and Ahsoka usually is one of the better text-to-speech voices, so I'm glad some people agree with that. Local Nebula Sakura asks, will we ever see perhaps another talk show or other long-form series of some sort after the Clone Wars 1 ends, particularly with the unused potential that is the original trilogy? So the Clone Wars talk show is planned to finish after the 2-part finale, and after that I'm going to take a break. My focus is on short-form content right now, since it does significantly better, it's easier to make, and for me, it's just way more fun. I think the content itself reflects that. But as for if I'll return to a new long-form series, never say never. I can't say I have any plans right now for long-form. But if an idea strikes me, I guess I'll go for it. I know the original trilogy has a lot of potential as an era to make videos in, and if I can find a way to fully explore that, I will. I can say that when long-form videos do make their return, it'll be very different. Probably with the action figures and some kind of semi-stop motion thing going for it. It's just more fun, and it's just higher quality in my opinion. Rose asks, what was your favorite skit to make? My favorite one personally is the Chopper kill count skit. I'm glad you like that one. I like using all the Rebels in one skit. It's just kind of hard to write Rebels for me, even though it's my favorite media. I've made so many at this point. Just over 250 now. I think it's hard to say which one is my true favorite, but I might go with the one I called Who's the Best Star Wars Video Game Protagonist. Because I think the joke in that video is my favorite that I've ever written.
I'm a Knight of the Old Republic. Say that again?
Well, I'm a Jedi survivor, dude.
Say that again? Shut the fuck up, Starkiller. Ooh, I'm so scared. What, are you gonna unleash the Force on me?
Also, I really love the Clone Wars but 2% smarter, since it's the first time I tried out a blue screen for that hologram effect. And I think it turned out really good. Andrew Amy 4073 asks, how do you come up with episodes for the AI Star Wars series? How did you come up with the AI series? The AI series started when AI voices first became a thing. I thought 11 Labs was hilarious, and I spent a lot of time messing around with it and the Old Republic voices, and it was very inappropriate. But I mean, I thought it was the funniest thing ever. My channel before all this was just to showcase my Battlefront 2 mods on Nexus for the Old Republic, but the AI stuff really had me start to branch out. I first wanted to do Rebels, since that's my favorite Star Wars, but I knew Clone Wars was more popular, so I thought I'd start with that. And when the first one did really well, I got the idea to do it with guest characters. And after I finished that Mace Windu one, which was the second video, I decided to make it a full series. And I remember the drive-in the day after I finished writing that video, thinking about the potential of a series where Anakin kills the guest after every time. I like to drive sometimes just to think, because weirdly I think it helps me get my creative juices flowing better than anything. But after that idea, it just started rolling. And as far as how I come up with episodes now, I usually just pick a character that I think can make a bunch of jokes about, and we just kind of go from there. There's a couple people in the Discord now that help me out with writing long-form skits today, and they can attest to the fact that it's pretty much just pick a character, write down a bunch of ideas and things you want to joke about, and then just go piece by piece. Now, Star Wars is massive, and there's so much potential in there. I think Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka are these great foils for characters, now even though if they're so very different from their canon versions, but it kind of makes it unique. Sandshark2517 asks, have you ever had to explain to anyone what you do for videos? If so, what's your funniest/awkward encounter? It doesn't really come up. If for whatever reason I'm asked what I do for a living, I just say I'm unemployed. Or I have an online business. It's just kind of awkward trying to tell people you make Star Wars skits for a living. Plus, I've mostly been faceless this whole time, only recently showing my face at Rebel ScumCon. And now I'm trying to do this Q&A stuff, so I don't know, maybe that will change, who knows. Commander Thorn Studios asks, I actually have a question for you, Zenger. How was Rebel ScumCon? Yes, thank you for asking. I was down there, cosplaying as Balin Skull with my friends that weekend. I went with 4 of my friends, Biggest, Phoebe, Enigma, and Sappy. We all met playing Battlefront 2, so this was kind of a fitting reunion. This was our first time seeing Enigma in person, so that was pretty great. My outfit was very hot, so it was honestly a bit miserable at first. I couldn't really wear it without the cloak, because the backside didn't close properly, so I had to deal with it. The first day was kind of learning what to expect and how to deal with it. We walked around, took some pictures, missed most of the panels since we didn't really know what was happening. We took this group picture, but we took a better one later. One good thing from that day was that Bobby, or Triptychonus, he was one of the guys who organized this event. He was the one who actually invited me and gifted me this awesome custom figure of P1MP. I guess he said he saw the skit with him, and he felt inspired to make a custom like it, and he also made one in 375 scale for me. So it was such a cool thing, and I'm so glad to have it. It's a bit broken right now, unfortunately, while I'm messing with it for the reason Sketa managed to snap off his fragile arms, so I need to find a way to glue it or replace the arms somehow. Still, this is really cool, and I'm beyond grateful for him. The second and third days were much better. I didn't force myself to wear the full cosplay the whole time, so when I did, I was able to take off some of the heavier leather parts like the shoulder pads and the gloves, and we were watching panels most of the day. I think my favorite was the animation panel with Taylor Gray, Anna Graves, and Christopher Sean. Obviously, I love Rebels, so seeing Taylor was great. Anna and Christopher were great and funny as well. I really enjoyed seeing them. The whole con itself was just great. All the panels were really freaking cool. Honestly, this is my first time ever being at a con and seeing people who make Star Wars. It was just great to have that experience, so I'm really glad I went. I got a free press pass, so I know a lot of you guys went and knew about it because of the few skits I made to promote it. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. The uncanny Mr. Wilkes asks, would you mind showing us your collection? For sure. I'll do a quick pan of it right now. Some things are missing from their spots right now because I pulled them down to, for the main video part. But this is how I display things. So the main display I record in front of has all 9 Saga films plus the Clone Wars. Some shelves are clearly more full than others. Bit of a shame, really. And then I have a secondary set of shelves here to display all the extra shows and films, as well as some legends, video games, and whatnot. And most recently, I got this massive shelf over here to my right. I actually got this weekend, and I can display all my ships and stuff. And I got the HasLab Cantina pretty recently, so I'm putting all the Cantina figures in there. Yeah, it's a lot. And while I pan over this, I'm just going to ask the next question, which is from Quibbly Alt. Question for you, how do you get your figures for your videos? I'm interested in them. I collect 375-inch scale figures. The active line right now is the Vintage Collection, so you can find them in toy aisles and on your average sites like Amazon, but there's so many more figures than that. If you want a full breakdown of what they are, There's a great checklist site called Galactic Figures that you can scan through, search up characters, see every character ever made, and it will even do an auto search on eBay for you. So it's a very handy site, and I use it every time I go scouting for an older figure or character I want. WLR020184 asks, what's your favorite Star Wars theme song and why? For me, it's the Jedi Fallen Order theme. Brings me back to 2019, early 2020. I was never going to play that game on my own, but my friend, James the Douglas, had gifted me a code for it on Origin, which is now EA Play, but he had bought a pre-order code months prior that he thought was suspicious, and then he forgot about it, and then bought it again when it came out. So he gave me that old pre-order code. I made a fake alt account, which is actually the origin of the fake in Zender Fake, and then I played Fallen Order and loved it to death, and it brought me into Star Wars like crazy. I mean, I'd always been a fan of Star Wars, and actually enjoyed the sequels and Rogue One and Solo, and I saw them all in theaters multiple times, but I hadn't really been a completionist before this. I hadn't really been there watching everything they make, and this kind of really started it for me. It got me into Battlefront 2, which again then led me to meeting my now closest friends, and directly into making this YouTube channel. And in general, I just love that theme song. It's so raw and beautiful, and it brings out all the emotions I feel when I think of Star Wars. I don't know if it's unusual to not pick a John Williams score for that answer, and his music is phenomenal, but nothing beats that video game soundtrack for me. And then they crushed it again in Survivor with that Ghost Star lullaby in the second game. And that's one of the few times Star Wars has actually made me cry. So good. Kieran Rowland asks, can I be in the video? Sure, here you go. Mando Plays asks, are you going to keep doing the Spider-Man plus JJJ podcast? So that was kind of a one-time thing, just to try and expand my horizons, but I don't think people were really interested. I'm mostly a Star Wars channel anyway, and while it was fun to write a little for Spider-Man, I just don't think I'd do it again. I'm a big fan of Marvel Rivals, though, so if Hasbro ever made some figures based on that game, I'd definitely pick them up, and I make some videos. Maybe I make a new Marvel-based channel for that, though. Maka04 asks, who is your favorite Jedi and Sith? For the Jedi, it is easy. It's Kanan Jarrus. Rebels is my favorite Star Wars anything, and he's just the best in that show. For the Sith, it's trickier. My first thought is Kamir from The Acolyte, the Stranger. Love his design and his fighting style, and I love the idea of a fallen Jedi trying to rebuild the Order. I mean, the Sith Order. Because as far as he knows, the Sith were extinct. And I wish we could see that story play out as Plagueis comes forward and reveals to him that the Sith are still very real, and he's only a pretender. But I don't know. But since he's technically not a Sith, I'd have to change my answer, so I'd probably just go with Lana Beniko. Just because she's the one I have the best connection to. As SWTOR is this beast of a game that I love so much, and there's lots of great moments with her, and I love her look and her story, and I love her as a companion. Marco Dankick, C5I, asks, question for Zemjer, have you read any Legends books or comics? And if yes, do you prefer them over the Disney canon? Bonus question, if you have read Legends, what was your favorite Legends exclusive character? I have read a bit of Legends, mostly as a kid. I've read Heir to the Empire, just the first book, not the whole trilogy, and I've read Choices of One, also by Timothy Zahn, but both of them were a long time ago, so honestly I don't remember much of anything about them. The only comic I remember reading was a Purge comic that came in a figure 2-pack with Boltar Swan and Kafia Rana. I loved this story. It's just Vader slaughtering a ton of Jedi. And it's also my first exposure to Cortosis, and it's such a great idea. A metal that can disable lightsabers made into a sword. It's just awesome. So I was so hyped seeing that brought into canon with The Acolyte. So to answer your question about whether I prefer it to the Disney canon, no. I really love canon, and I love all its stories. There's very little Star Wars I dislike. I love it all. Prequels, originals, sequels, all the animated stuff, and more. The only Star Wars I can't really bring myself to like or watch is Visions, which isn't really canon, and since I don't like anime, and a lot of that is, well, anime, I can't bring myself to like it. As far as favorite Legends character goes, I don't know if he's exclusive, but I have this little figure of a guy called Su Choi, who is in that Purge comic that I read and love so much. So if there's anyone that I could say is my favorite Legends character, it's probably him. SSJ4 Jason 737 asks, what is one ship you want to see in the Vintage Collection? I think my most wanted ship for TVC is the Stinger Mantis from Fallen Order / Survivor. I don't know how likely it is, but that's it. I would love to see a HasLab project around the time that Jedi 3 comes out. and really get pushed since it's one of the coolest ship designs to me. And it could come with some really great figures like a Fallen Order, Cal, Marin, Grease, Seer, maybe even a Bogling to hide in the vents. I know it's incredibly unlikely, but that's probably my most wanted ship. If I had to pick a non-HasLab ship, probably like the TIE Defender or the Phantom 1 to go alongside the Ghost. Always love some Rebels appreciation. Tuyan22 Productions asks, Zenger, what is your favorite mod that you've created for Battlefront 2? Mine is the Bananakin mod. Yes, so for those who don't know, I used to make mods for Battlefront 2. Lots of Old Republic mods and other various model ports. I haven't made one in a while, since my focus is now on YouTube videos. Bananakin is definitely one of my funnier ones. My friend Vegas actually made the lightsaber for him and for Kornobi, which in my opinion is the highlight of these. I see people comment about, I think some YouTuber made a video with Bananakin and is like some channel meme over there or something, which the Russian Badger, right? I think it's Russian Badger. Lots of comments have mentioned stuff about him using the mod, and I always wonder if people realize I'm the original creator of that mod. So that little skit I did between Bananakin and Kornobi was one of my first ever AI videos too. And that went so viral. And then it was taken and remade with Lego a few times. And I know those all went super viral, even more so than my original version. As far as my favorite mod, it's probably my most recent one, The Stranger from the Acolyte. I got to basically commission the model and then put it into the game myself. And I was able to make most of his voice lines using AI, which is awesome. First time I actually really got to do that for a full character mod. He's just such a cool character, and he's very fun to play in that game. Cole3572 asks, will you be watching and reacting to any more Star Wars shows with your friends? I know the Ahsoka vids performed really bad, but they're really funny and great. Also, what will be the overall long-form content direction after you finish the talk show series? Maybe. The Ahsoka reactions did pretty good, in my opinion, for what they were. Heavily edited, and we were just being ourselves watching, but it was fun. We might do season 2 as well. And/or, while it was an incredible show, it wasn't really as reactable, I guess. Part of the fun of a Star Wars reaction video, to me, is seeing the references, the cameos, the action, and if those people watching caught on to what I saw, and more. Or maybe stuff that I didn't see. And there wasn't a ton of that in Andor. You know, Acolyte had it, but I was more dialed into the videos at the time. And yeah, I didn't really fancy the inevitable mass dislikes on those videos, just because we sounded exciting watching it. Maul's Shadow Lord might be a good one to do in the future, since we're all interested in that. I want my channel to evolve and have a bit more of the actual me involved, so that could be a good way to try it. I can always talk to Biggest and Phoebe again and see if they want to record next time we watch a Star Wars show. Mike asks, is Ariel Poof going to be in the AI shorts? I actually did buy a Ariel Poof action figure a few months ago, so it's possible. I think I had him in a previous one with Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Plo Koon, but I ultimately opted to cut him. He's kind of tricky since he actually dies before or during Attack of the Clones, so he can't really appear in a canon-adjacent skit. But he's an option, and I'm sure he'll appear eventually. Up North, Airsoft 5711 asks, why did my dad leave me? VexoVec asks, question, do you know how many Star Wars minifigs you have? I feel like you have so many you would lose track. Yeah, I actually have lost track. I counted a few months ago, and it ended at 667, and that were on display. That didn't include any in boxes or any of the several I've picked up since then, just the ones on the shelves. By now, it's probably just under 800, I think. Samuel Kalarakan asks, how do you have the budget for so many figurines? I'm horribly irresponsible with my money. No, in seriousness, it's just that I've been collecting for almost 20 years now, since I was a kid. Most of it has been in the last 10, so it's kind of spread out. But this is like my only hobby. I don't like to spend a ton of money on food or going out to do things. And I live in Texas, in an area with a decently low cost of living, so I end up having a decent chunk of disposable income for this. And hey, sometimes I joke that technically, now my collection is tax deductible, since I use them in videos all the time. It's work. So that's why I'm spending a couple $100 a month on toys. Orca Does Things 11 asks, have you ever thought about characters from other franchises appear in your skits? I have. I think I put a Dalek in one of them with Hu Yang to tease a little Doctor Who stuff, but for the most part, I wanted to keep it Star Wars. I'm a big nerd, but only really for this stuff. Maybe a bit of Marvel, but not nearly to the same extent, and I'd rather just keep my niche interests here. I just don't think I could write this well for a different franchise right now. Sean Sheep 8884 asks, I have a second question, again for you. I was recently continuing my read of the Artemis Fowl series, And in Artemis Fowl and the Time Paradox, a line is spoken that reminded me of something you had Obi-Wan say. I'm saying you don't even own a copy of the rulebook, and if you do, you certainly haven't opened it. Is this just a coincidence, or was that inspired by this book? I'm sure this is a coincidence, but I'm just curious because they are word for word the same. Yes, when I started with the videos, most of the initial jokes were just popular incorrect quotes that you could find all over the internet. I wasn't really confident in writing my own stuff at the time. I've never read Artemis Fowl, but I guess somebody did and put that in one of those incorrect quote style things. So by the time of season 2 of the talk show, and when I started making the shorts, they kind of evolved into their own thing and almost completely linear with 100% of my own writing. But when they started, I was taking a lot of stuff from Tumblr posts and stuff. I mean, to start, when I was literally generating line by line as I wrote, it took until the Revan episode, I think, for me to genuinely write the entire script beforehand. Before that, I just used a lot of those incorrect quotes, and the conversations jumped around a lot. It's kind of interesting to see how the videos have evolved from that kind of disjointed, bad-sounding mess to what they are now, which I think is a much higher bar of quality, especially the shorts. Driftin' for Days asks, do you collect Lego, as I have seen some Lego elements in your videos, such as the hologram piece? I don't collect Lego. It's far too expensive for me, and while I don't hate the style, I just kind of prefer the more realistic look of the action figures. But I have various bits and accessories from Lego bootleg minifigures. I went a little crazy a few years ago, and I spent hundreds on so many of these things from AliExpress, so I have a fair little collection, with lots and lots of Star Wars and Marvel characters. I prefer the figures, so I'll always use those, but the Lego accessories scale decently well with 375 figures, so it's nice to have that option to use when I don't have an actual normal piece to use like a hologram. Beggy1987 asks, would you ever consider doing a full dub of Dark Disciple or the Son of Dathomir comics? I think I'd rather stick to my own writing and jokes now. Now, there are some great dramatic readings and audiobooks out there that already do a wonderful job of bringing those stories to life. Plus, that's a ton of work, more than probably any of my current videos combined. Books are long, man. Audiobooks can go as long as 20 plus hours, and I've only made about that much content in 3 years. The comics would be less, but it's still a major piece of work. Silver Claude asks, besides Star Wars, what is your favorite show or games? P.S. You awesome. Thank you. Star Wars is mostly my life, but there is various other stuff I love. As far as shows, my favorite show ever is probably Better Call Saul. Big fan of the Breaking Bad universe, and Better Call Saul is just, there's no misses in that whole show. Other shows that are my favorite are like Outlander, The Shield, Punisher, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., 24, Community. Yeah, they're all probably in my top 10 there. I'd have to really think about it. Currently, I'm watching the original series of Dexter for the first time, and it's pretty dang good. Might end up making my top 10 by the end. Hopefully it will. With games, for me, it's much easier. I have a top 3 right off my head. Red Dead Redemption 2, Valheim, and Minecraft. 3 games I will never uninstall. Minecraft being the GOAT, the number 1. That is all I have time for in this Q&A, so if you guys watched to the end, thank you so much. I hope you learned a little bit about me and the channel, and if you have any questions, ask them in the comments of this video. If I didn't answer your question this time around, don't be afraid to just ask again. Maybe I can get to it next time. Special thanks to the outrageous and insane supporters, TacoGod, Sanada, Charlie, and Leonel Barena. These videos are possible with support from you guys on Patreon, so thank you so much. Thank you everyone who watched this video, and I'll see you guys next time.